Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Cholent. This is Jar of Fireflies, and here I make videos all about my life as an Orthodox Jewish homeschooling mother of 3. And today I'm going to recap Rosh Hashanah for you and take you through a day in my life getting ready for Shabbat. Okay guys, so today is Friday, so I will be getting ready for Shabbat later. But I wanted to first just kind of recap Rosh Hashanah for you since I couldn't take the camera along during the holiday. I just wanted to give like a quick little story time of that. So the holiday started just a little bit after I turned off my camera in my last video. And after I lit my candles and we brought in the holiday, the kids and I ended up just kind of hanging out. The kids were playing there for a little bit and I was sitting reading a book, and then we decided we wanted to sit outside. It was a gorgeous night. So we sat outside and some friends of ours walked by going to their meal, so we got to stop and chat with them. And then my husband came walking home, so the kids were so excited to run out and meet him, and our guests were there too. Everybody came in and we got started on our meal. Now, the night meals of Rosh Hashanah are special because we do something called the Simanim, and it's where we eat these special foods that symbolize certain things that we want for our new year. These are things like the apple and honey for a sweet new year, the pomegranate that our merits be increased, and things like that. It's a really fun little thing that we do before we start the actual meal. So we do that on both nights. Okay, so we did that. We had our meal. I think we ended our meal probably around midnight or so. It was a very late night. And then we all went to sleep. And of course, everybody kind of slept in a little bit the next morning, except my husband, who had to wake up and go to services. The services on Rosh Hashanah are very long. I think they started maybe around 8:30 or 9 in the morning, and they didn't end until around 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So there are extra prayers. Certain prayers that we say all year long are longer. There's added parts to them. So that's kind of all what makes it up as being longer. Now, we were going out to lunch, so I did bring my kids to services. I didn't go to services, I just kind of hung out with friends over in the children's center because I had prayed at home, and my kids got to play with their friends, and then we were able to go out to our meal. Now, we don't do the simanim, the special foods, at this meal. It's just a regular holiday meal. So we enjoyed that with friends, and then we came back home. Now on Shabbat, we have a third meal. We have another meal in the evening, later in the day, like in the afternoon, late afternoon. But on this day, we don't. So I did feed the kids in sort of like a light meal there, but for the most part, we were waiting for our dinner. Now we did have some friends over in the afternoon, which was absolutely lovely to hang out with them. My dog got to have a play date. She absolutely loved that. And those friends who had come over in the afternoon were our guests there for the evening meal, which was absolutely wonderful because not only did we get their beautiful company, but they got to help me set the table and things like that, which we can't start any of those things until the sun goes down. So I can't even pull the food out of the refrigerator to start warming it up or anything. It was very nice to have their help and company for that. So then we enjoyed the meal. We did the simanim, those special foods again. And then again, it was a very late meal. It was like midnight before anybody went home. And then we all went to sleep, and I tried to sleep in again the next morning as best that I could. My husband was up and off to shul by the time that I got up. And then I had some quiet time there before the kids woke up to again pray and things like that. Now, we didn't go to services the next day. We just stayed home and hung out, and the kids didn't even really notice. They were so busy playing and having a good time. But anyhow, then our lunch guests came over. We enjoyed a lovely lunch. Again, no special foods at this lunch, just our regular festive meal for the holiday. And then after lunch, we're all kind of like, oh, it's almost over now. Later in the afternoon, after my husband went to the afternoon and evening services, I took the kids for a walk, and we ended up stopping in at our neighbor's house, and one of our other neighbors was there with their kids. So they were all just playing and having a really good time, and us adults were hanging out until almost when the holiday was over. So then I took the kids back home and got them ready for bed. We did a very short closing Havdalah ceremony. So it was sort of a modified Havdalah. It was just over the cup of wine. There was no candle, there were no spices, and that was it. And then we all went to bed because we were tired. So that's like a super quick nutshell version recap of our Rosh Hashanah. Okay, now today, oh wait, there was one more question that I wanted to answer for you guys. I've been asked a lot lately about why I'm praying backwards in my book. Okay, Hebrew is a language that goes from right to left when you read it, unlike English, which goes from left to right when you are reading it. So our books start in what looks like the back of the book to us. So I'm actually starting at the front of the book. Now this book is English and Hebrew, but generally when you have something like a Siddur or something like this, a prayer book that is in English and Hebrew, they'll still go with the Hebrew of reading what appears to us to be backwards, but to them is right words. Okay, so enough of all of that. All right. Okay, so now the kitchen is clean, so my usual go and clean the kitchen at this point doesn't need to happen, which is fantastic. Okay, and the reason it's clean is because we haven't cooked yet for the holiday, like at all. The holiday meaning Shabbat that's coming up tonight. Okay, so the fish, my husband already had fish that he had made for Rosh Hashanah. He had made whole fish tilapia so that we could have the fish head. It's one of the simanim. So that is, like the body of the fish we did not eat. So that is still there for us to use for Shabbat tonight. And then later today, my husband is going to make Hamin, also called Cholent. So I'm gonna film that for you guys too. Oh gosh, this might be a long video. We'll see. But I wanna make sure that I get it all in for you. But in the meantime, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I think I'm just gonna go make some brownies and some broccoli, roast some broccoli. Brownies, you excited about that?
Yeah, make brownies.
Make brownies? You gonna help me make brownies?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay, so anyhow, yeah, so my little dude here, he is up and awake. The other kids are still asleep. So I think we're gonna go ahead in and get started on making those You're awake. He's gonna come in and help me make those brownies for our Shabbat lunch dessert for tomorrow. And I don't know, we'll just see what else happens. Let's go. Okay, so we just got those brownies in the oven, and then my husband came home, so he is gonna make the Hamin now, the Cholent. So I'm gonna film him while he's doing that, and I will voice over and tell you what he's doing, so you too could do this at home if you so chose. Okay, real quick before we get started here, Cholent, which we call Hamin, it's just the Sephardi term for that, is a very traditional Shabbat lunch. It is a stew that is prepared on Friday and then cooked overnight. It's what you would most likely eat if you were having a Shabbat lunch at a Jewish home. I will also add that my husband's recipe is a little bit different than mine, so I'll probably do another recipe video of this at some other point when I am making it, but he wanted to make it today, so here we go. All right, so he's starting out by just taking 2 onions and chopping them up. Next, in this big kind of soup pot, he is just putting in a little bit of canola oil, and then he's going to add those onions into the canola oil and cook them until they are soft. While that is sauteing over there on the stove, he is stirring occasionally, and he's also went ahead and grabbed 5 potatoes, and he is peeling those. After the potatoes are peeled, he is just setting them aside for the moment. The meat that we are using is chuck, and it's just this huge chunk of chuck, or 2 big chunks of chuck. And I seared these the other day and then wrapped them up and put them in the freezer. So we just had to thaw and rinse them off this morning. Okay, back over to those sauteed onions. They're pretty soft right now, so we're adding in the spices, about a tablespoon each of paprika, cumin, and turmeric. And then he's going to add a little bit of black pepper and a little bit of garlic powder. Okay, he is stirring that in, and just side note, the heat is still on this pot. So this is going to get all those flavors to meld in there together. Okay, so with the heat still on and that at a really good simmer, he is adding in water, and he is going to pretty much get this pot to almost fill up. He's going to add more water once this goes into the crock pot later on, but he wants to get a lot of water in here now because he's basically making the sauce of the stew. Okay, quick stir, and he's going to let that sit there for a bit. Okay, back over to those potatoes. He's going to go ahead and cut those potatoes. He's just basically cutting them into large chunks, not to bite-sized pieces or anything like that. And then he is going to add those into that spices and water and onions combo we've got going on over there on the pot. Okay, another quick stir to get that all mixed together nicely. Okay, just a couple of more elements to add to that. First is this brown rice. Now, if we were not gluten-free, as we are because of my son having celiac, we would be using barley, but we are gluten-free because my son's celiac, so we are using brown rice. And we're just rinsing that off first, and then we will add that to the pot. Brown rice, by the way, holds up much better overnight than white rice, which pretty much dissolves. All right, after another quick stir, we're going to add in some chickpeas and then another quick stir. Okay, now we put the lid on, turn the heat up, and that's going to simmer there or kind of softly boil for about an hour, and then we'll be able to add that into the crock pot with the meat. Except that at this point we realized we forgot to put the salt in, so we added a generous handful of salt, and then my husband grabbed some chicken soup powder. It is Awesome brand chicken soup powder, and added some of that to the pot as well. Okay, one more quick stir, and now we can put the lid on, and this can sit for about an hour. Okay, an hour has gone by and we have just prepared the crock pot there with a crock pot liner. It's really helpful when you're cooking something overnight so that it doesn't burn to the sides of the crock pot. And then we added in our 2 big pieces of meat, and then we just took all the contents of that pot that we had been simmering for about an hour there on the stove and added that to the crock pot. So now my husband is just kind of stirring things around a little bit, making sure that the meat is surrounded by all of that sauce and other elements that we were just working on. And then he's going to add water to fill up the crock pot pretty close to the top. And now at this point, we'll just give it, of course, one more quick stir, and then we'll add the lid, and this will sit on low until lunch tomorrow. I was just in there helping my son clean up his room, and my neighbor just came by and brought these beautiful flowers. They smell so good. Oh my gosh. I feel like I'm in a meadow. Okay, I'm gonna put these in some water, and I'll catch up on what's been going on this afternoon. Okay, so this afternoon feels like it has been just flying by. It is about 4 o'clock already, and I can hardly even tell you what we've done. It feels like I've done not much of anything, but I know we have. You know, we did the cholent and all of that. I've got some broccoli going in the oven that is roasting, and the kids have taken turns being in the shower or bath, getting ready for themselves for Shabbat. I spent some time brushing my daughter's hair, which always takes a long time. She has curly hair, and I am just not used to curly hair because my hair is not curly like that. But anyways, we did get that done, and just some general house cleaning stuff. The kids, spruced up their rooms a little bit, and my oldest son ran the vacuum around the house. And other than that, not a whole lot. I cleaned up the kitchen a little bit. I chatted with my co-leader for our nature group. And now it's getting on towards early evening, and it's going to be time for me to get ready for Shabbat soon myself. Okay, with Shabbat about 2 hours away now, I figured I'd go ahead and set the table. No point in being rushed later now that Shabbat is getting a little bit earlier and a little bit earlier every week. Okay, I have been getting so many questions about this plastic tablecloth that I put over our nice tablecloth, and I just want to go ahead and clear that up. It's not a Jewish thing or anything like that. There's no Jewish or Jewish law reason that I do this. It's simply a personal choice that I made because we only have this one tablecloth for Shabbat. It's traditional to use a white tablecloth for Shabbat. So I have this for Shabbat, and then I have a regular tablecloth that I made for us to use during the week. So since we eat 3 meals on this table, and people are just messy inherently, that's just what we do, I put this plastic tablecloth on here to save the one white tablecloth that I have and keep it looking good for each of our meals, at least when we sit down. So yeah, totally not a Jewish thing, just something that I do to keep the tablecloth clean. In the past, when we had a smaller table, I did use different tablecloths for every meal, and I that's my personal preference, but for now I've only got one tablecloth for this table, so that's what we are doing. Another question that I get asked a lot is why do we all have these different fancy cups? And that is because they are Kiddush cups. Except for me, I just use a regular wine glass. But my husband uses a special cup for Kiddush, the blessing over the wine at our Shabbat meals. And the kids really wanted one too. So we got some more, or like some are like older ones that my husband used to use. Others are ones that he got specifically for them. And they absolutely love it. And my older son has started making Kiddush on his own sometimes, making the blessing over wine himself, which is very nice. And then I just use my regular wine glass because that's my preference. All right, I hope that clears up some of the questions y'all had about when I'm setting the table. And let me know if you're interested in me doing a more detailed video about how to set a Shabbat table. I'm happy to cover that in another video for you guys if you're interested. Oh, while we're on the topic of the table, another question I've been getting a bit lately is about my challah cover. That is what this cloth is. It is a challah cover, and we put that over our challah, our bread, until we are ready to say hamotzi, which is the blessing over the bread. And this challah cover I cross-stitched. It's quite old and a bit dirty. I've been thinking about making a new one, but I cross-stitched this for my husband as a wedding present. So that's what that is. Okay, so the day is pretty much winding down. We've got maybe about 30 minutes or so before Shabbat starts. My husband has already gone to services. He took our oldest son with him, and our little two kids are playing outside with the dog, really enjoying this cooler evening tonight. And yeah, I think things are pretty well set up. So for food, we have still a bunch of salads left over from Rosh Hashanah that my husband had made. He made a ton of extras so that we could have all the salads. And we have our Hamin over here. This will just sit here. It's plugged in. It's gonna be on low until tomorrow at lunch when we'll just pull out that pot part and we'll be able to serve it. I've got some bread here on top. I just have two of those round loaves left over from Rosh Hashanah. And then tomorrow I have bread that I baked for tomorrow. And then we've got our fish over here. Other than that, so the brownies that my youngest and I made, so that will be for lunch tomorrow, dessert. And then I've got that roasted broccoli that I had made. I'm so glad that I made a ton of it because we ended up snacking on like, I don't know, a third of it. So, but there still be plenty for the meal tomorrow. So I'm excited about that because we do all love roasted broccoli. Okay, so you guys have been asking about seeing some of the salads. So let me grab a few from the fridge and I will show you some of our salads. Okay. So this one here is called baba ganoush, and so this is a roasted eggplant and mayonnaise salad. It's really good. This one is matbucha, and this is a tomato-based salad. We call them salads. In America, I guess the proper term would be dip, but we call them salads. This one is carrot salad. So this is like with carrots and cilantro and garlic and oil and spices, and the carrots are cooked, not too much. They're not like mushy, but they are cooked. So good. It's one of my favorites. And we've got a little bit of beet salad left. My husband makes this with fresh beets, and what is there? Onion is in there and spices and stuff. I don't know. After the holidays are over, I will try to peg down a time when we can just sit and make these salads together and make a video and teach you guys how to make them all. But in the meantime, that's just a little visual taste of the salads that we're eating with our bread. Because I know I keep talking about these salads we eat with our bread, but that's the salads we eat with our bread. So first course is always these salads with bread, and then next course is fish, and then on the next day it's salads with the bread, and then it'll be the Hamin and the broccoli and then the brownies. So yeah, anyhow. All right, I think I've managed to keep this video at a fairly reasonable amount of time, but I should go ahead and call it a close now before it does get out of hand. Well, Shabbat is starting soon-ish, and I'm gonna go sit outside on the patio with the kids with a book while we're waiting for Shabbat to get a little bit closer. So I'll call this one a close here. Please hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. I would love to see you here again. And be sure to hit that like button if you enjoyed this video. It helps my channel out a lot, and it helps me know what kinds of videos you guys like to see. All right, I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you in my next upload. Alrighty then, okay. don't think so. Okay. So on time, and so the camera started a little bit. Visit our neighbor and some of our other. Point is not going to happen today, and the kitchen is. Hey, buddy, you can come in. Do you want to come sit in your yellow chair? Where was I?
It's going here.
Okay, hold on. Hold on, give me 1 second. I'm gonna talk on the camera. Okay, so we got those brownies in the oven, and while those are cooking, my husband is.
Should I just say it's me?
Okay, so we just finished up there. Okay, so I don't think this video was too long. Sizzle at me.